Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Professor. Today, us from Group 5 would like to present about semantics. But first, we would like to introduce ourselves. Next slide. Okay.
My name is Niputu Pratnyaswari.
My name is Gusti Ayu Marita Purnaryanti.
My name is Anissa Dextranya Pratwi.
And my name is Putu Aditya Masaputra. Okay, next. Okay, in this presentation, there are three main topics. First, there is definition of semantics. The second one is semantics in the field of linguistics. And third topic is theories in linguistic semantics. And the first material will be explained by Anissa.
Okay, in linguistics, semantics is the subfield that studies meaning. Study of meaning in a language, to be precise. It can mean the levels of words, phrases, sentences, or the largest unit of discourse of language. So this is a video for further information about definition of linguistics.
Denotational rather than connotational meaning that semantics is focused on what something means rather than how it is used in context. Now, for example, consider this image. Is this a chair? What about this? Or this? There's no easy answer to those questions, and hopefully by the end of this video, you will see that it largely depends on the person being asked that question.
Okay, we're going to the next material, semantics in the field of linguistics. Semantics is also informed by other subdisciplines of linguistics, such as morphology, as understanding the word themselves as integral to the study of their meaning and syntax. Okay, the first is situational semantics. Let's revisit the idea that a single line of text can be interpreted in different ways. So this is an example. Suppose a college grad was just hired to a new job. She was excited to start this new chapter when everything seemed glossy and bright. On the first day, her boss mentioned she'll have to travel to the new Miami office to help the office hit the ground running. In reality, she'll be going there to do very mundane chores like order office supplies and clean the cobilus, something that nobody else wants to do. So, as the new employee exclaimed, "You choose me, thank you," and the supervisor says, "Yep, I chose you all right." We'll note that, given the context of the situation, the supervisor isn't saying this in a positive light. However, the new employee will interpret it to mean something very positive. Or what if a husband comes home with what he labels a brand new coffee table? He might tell his wife it was a steal and a gorgeous new piece for their home. The wife might take one look at it and say, "This isn't new. I saw this at the local consignment shop the other day." The husband might retort, "Semantics. It's new to us." Indeed, two people can take one word or expression and take it to mean entirely different things. Material will be explained by my friend.
Okay, thank you for the time, Anissa. Now I would like to explain about lexical semantics. Now, lexical semantics is the study of word meaning. Descriptively speaking, the main topics studied within lexical semantics involve either the internal semantic structure of words or the semantic relations that occur within the vocabulary. Now, in lexical semantics, there are lexical relations, meaning of words and relations to one another. It has several types such as homonym, polysemy, synonym, antonym, eponymy, and meronymy. Next. Now first, there is synonymy. Synonymy in semantics refers to a word with the same or nearly the same meaning as another word. For an example, the word awful and terrible has the same meaning. Next. And here is the further explanation about synonymy.
First, let's talk about synonymy. Synonyms are words with similar meanings, such as big and large, small and little, doctor and physician. Each pair there has very similar meanings. So they might be different words, but they have very similar meanings. Those are synonyms.
Now the second one, in lexical relations, there is anatomy. Anatomy is in semantics refers to words that have opposite meanings. These are usually in pairs. For example, hot or cold, tall or short, loud or quiet. Now, hot and cold is gradable. Now, this video will further explain about the lexical relations and antonymy.
Now, we could also talk about antonyms, which is the opposite, because antonyms are words that have opposite meanings. There's actually two types of antonyms. There's gradable antonymy and non-gradable antonymy. Gradable antonyms are those in which there's a kind of graded difference. It's something that you could imagine on a continuum or a spectrum. For example, wide and narrow. Something could be kind of wide and kind of narrow. It's unclear where one stops and the other begins. So non-gradable antonyms are different. They are either one or the other, and they fail the kind of test. So you can either be alive or dead. You can't really say something is kind of alive or kind of dead, never mind all the zombies that you've seen in movies. If you think about the meaning of something as a living being, it's either alive or it's dead.
Okay, the third one is hyponymy. Hyponymy in semantics roughly illustrates the subordinate relation of a word. Let's examine the sentences. First sentences is please sweep the floor. The second one is could you wipe the table? And the third one is will you scrub the vegetables clean before cutting them? Now these three sentences concludes that the meaning of sweep, wipe, and scrub is related to the meaning of clean. Okay, next slide. And here is the video that will further explain about hyponymy.
Next, we can talk about hyponymy. And hyponymy is when the meaning of one form is actually included in the meaning of a larger other form. So, for example, a daisy is a hyponym of flower. A carrot is a hyponym of vegetable. These are all examples of the meaning of one word being included in the meaning of a larger category.
Now the fourth one is homophony. A homophone is a word that is pronounced as the same as another word, but differs in meaning. These words may be spelled the same, such as rose as a flower and rose as the part tense of rice. Next. Now here is the video that will further explain about homophony.
Now we can next talk about homophony. And homophony are forms that sound the exact same, and that's what the word means, homo as in same and phone, same sound, but they are actually spelled differently and they have very unrelated meanings. So we could talk about see, the sea is in the body of water, and we could talk about see as in the action that you perform with the eyes, to look.
Homonymy. Now when two or more words combine, it's called homonymies. These words are pronounced and or spelled the same, but their meanings aren't related to each other. For example, the word band as in group music and band as in rubber band. These two words are pronounced or spelled the same, but the meaning is not the same. Next slide. And here is the video that will further explain about homonymy.
These are often confused with homonyms, so that means same name, homonym. So homonyms are forms that sound the same and they are spelled the same, but they have unrelated meanings. So for example, consider the word bank, as in the side of a river, and bank as in a financial institution. They're spelled the same, they sound the same, but they have very unrelated meanings.
Now, polysemy. Polysemy refers to a single word with more than one meaning. The multiple meanings are listed under one entry in a dictionary. For example, dish as some kind of plate and dish as a meal. These two words are pretty much pronounced the same, but it has the different meaning. Okay, next slide. And here is the video that will further explain about polysemy.
Now we could talk about polysemy, and polysemy has to do with words that are the same. They're spelled the same, they sound the same, but they have related meanings, often based on metaphor. So, for example, consider the foot as in an anatomical part, but we could also talk about the foot of a table or the foot of a mountain. So using the metaphor here of the anatomical part, that's sort of the source for us to understand that it's the part of the table that's holding the rest of the table up, or the same thing with a mountain.
And there is metonymy. Metonymy is a type of figurative language or a figure of speech that refers to a thing by the name of something associated with it. Now let's see for an example. In the sentence, one more shot. The word shot does not refer to a bullet shot, but shot in this context refers to a chance. So one more shot actually means one more chance. Next slide. And here is the video that will further explain about metonymy.
Next, we could talk about metonymy. And metonymy is really interesting because it's a big category, but it's really the idea that you're referring to one thing based on some close relationship to another thing. And this could be in terms of association. Like, for example, when a server says table 14 needs water, of course, table 14 doesn't need anything. It's an inanimate object, but it is used to refer to the customer who is seated at that table. They're the ones who need water. So it's based on association.
And this is the next material that will be explained by my friend.
Okay, semantics in everyday life. Here are some examples of everyday words that can have more than one meaning. First is, water pill could be a pill with water in it, but it's understood to be a diuretic that causes a person to lose water from his body. Second is crash. Crash can mean an auto accident, a drop in the stock market, to attend a party without being invited, ocean wave hitting the shore, or the sound of cymbals being struck together. And depending of context, a flowering plant could be referred for a word. Depending on context, a flowering plant could be referred to as a word, as a weed, or a flower. Semantics in puns. In your reading, you may come across a pun or two. Puns like to play on words. They deliberately use multiple meanings to reshape the meaning of a sentence. So what we understand a word to mean can be twisted to mean something else. First example is, time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. Second is diet slogan. Are you going the wrong way? Next is, I fired my Moses today. She just rubbed me the wrong way. And the last is, the best way to communicate with a fish is to drop them in a line. Two silkworms had a race, they end up in a tie. So the next material will be explained by my friends.
Okay, thank you. So the next material is uh, formal semantics. Formal semantics use techniques from math, philosophy, and logic to analyze the broader relationship between language and reality, threat, and possibility. The example is, has your teacher ever asked you to use an if blank then question? It breaks apart line of information to detect the underlying meaning or consequence of events. Next slide. The next one is cognitive semantic. Cognitive semantic is a branch of linguistic and cognitive science that studies the relationship between language, meaning, and human cognition. It explores how language is organized and processed in the mind, and how meaning is constructed and understood by individuals. Cognitive semantic is based on the idea that meaning arises from cognitive process and conceptual structure rather than being inherent in words or linguistic structure themselves. It emphasizes the role of human perception, categorization, and reasoning in shaping the meaning of word phrases and sentence. Some key concepts in the cognitive semantic includes the first one is conceptual metaphor, the idea that abstract or complex concepts are understood and expressed in terms of more concrete or simpler domains. For example, we often talk about time using spatial metaphor. Example, the best is ahead of us. We are approaching the deadline. The second one is image schemas. Basic cognitive structure that underline our understanding of spatial and temporal relations. Containment path, such as containment, path, and search path goal, provide a foundation for conceptualizing and talking about various experience. Number 3 is prototype theory. The notion that categories are not defined by a fixed set of necessary and sufficient features, but are represented by prototypes or typical examples. For instance, when we think of the category bird, we may have a prototypical bird in mind, like sparrow, but other members of the category, like penguins or ostriches, may not match all the type. And the last one, number 4, is conceptual integration, the process by which multiple conceptual domains or mental space are blended together to create new things. This allows for creative and metaphorical language use, enabling us to express complex thought and construct new understanding. Next slide, please. Here's an example of cognitive semantic using the concept of conceptual metaphor. The conceptual metaphor is love is a journey. In this metaphor, the abstract concept of love is understood and expressed in terms of the more concrete domains of a journey. This metaphor is widespread in many languages and cultures. Let's see how it manifests in some common expression. The first one is, we are going through a rough patch. Here, the idea of facing difficult in a relationship is conceptualized as encountering obstacles or challenge on a journey. The second one is, our relationship has reached a dead end. The metaphor use of dead end implies that the relationship has come to a point where there are no more options or possibilities, similar to reaching a dead end on a physical journey. This expression illustrated how the abstract concept of love is mapped onto the more concrete and structured domain of a journey. This conceptual metaphor allows us to understand and talk about love in terms of familiar experience and special temporal relationship associated with a journey. Next slide. The next one is conceptual semantic. Conceptual semantic is a theoretical framework within linguistic and cognitive science that focus on understanding the relationship between language and conceptual knowledge. It examines how meaning is represented and structured in the mind, and how this mental representation influence language production and comprehension. Conceptual semantics emphasizes the idea that linguistic meaning is derived from grounded in conceptual knowledge. It suggests that our understanding of word and our experience shapes the meaning of word, phrases, and sentence. In other words, conceptual semantics explore how our conceptualization of the word are reflected in the language we use. Next slide. Okay. Here's the example of conceptual semantic using the concept of conceptual categories and conceptual features. The conceptual category is fruits. With the conceptual category of fruits, there are various specific fruits that share common feature and characteristic. Let's consider some example. The first one is apple. The concept of an apple includes features such as brown shape, edible, typically red or green skin, and sweet or tart taste. The second one is banana. The concept of banana includes features such as elongated shape, peelable skin, yellow color when ripe, and sweet taste. In this example, conceptual semantics examines the shared conceptual features within the category of fruits. Thus, features provide a basic for categorizing different fruits and distinguishing them from other concepts. By identifying and understanding the common features associated with a specific category, we can compare and communicate about fruits in a meaningful way. Next slide. The next one is computational semantic. Computational semantic is a subfield of natural language processing and artificial intelligence that focus on the development of computational models and algorithms to represent and analyze the meaning of natural language. The goal of computational semantic is to bridge the gap between human language and machine understanding by providing computational methods for processing and interpreting the meaning of linguistic expression. It involves the use of formal and mathematical models to represent the meaning of word, sentence, and discourse in a way that can be processed and reasoned about by computer. Okay, the next material will be explained by my friends. Thank you.
So the next material is theories in linguistics. There is including lexical semantics. So theories in linguistics semantics, this theories understands that the meanings of a word is fully reflected by its context. Therefore, distinguishes between degrees of participations as well as modes of participations are made. In order to accomplish these distinctions, any part of a sentence that bears meanings and combined with the meanings of others constituents is labeled as semantics constituents. Semantic constituents that cannot be broken down into more elementary constituents are labeled minimal semantics constituents. Next slide. So in the theories in linguistic semantics also have cross-cultural semantics. Various fields or disciplines have long been contributing to cross-cultural semantics. Are words like love, truth, and hate universals? So this based on Underhill's 2012 AIDS and Betty 2020 B18. Is even the word sense so central to semantics, universal or concepts attracted in long standings but culture-specific traditions. This is based on Weirbica 2010 A9 and Betty 2021 M2. These are the kind of crucial questions that are discussed in cross-cultural semantics, translations theory, and technolinguistics, linguistics, anthropology, and cultural linguistics specialize in the fields of comparing, contrasting, and translating words, terms, and meanings from one language to another. Next slide. Next slide, please. So another theory in linguistic semantics is operational semantics. The meaning of a contract is specified by the computations in the induced when it is executed on a machine. In particular, it is interest how the effects of a computations is produced. Next. Denotational semantics. So meanings are modeled by mathematical objects that represents the effects of executing the contracts. Thus, only the effect is of interest, not how it is obtained. Next. So in the theories in linguistic semantics, there are also axiomatic semantics, specific properties or the effects of executing the contracts of the express as assertion. Thus, there may be aspects of the executions that are ignored. Next. So the conclusions for the presentations today is in linguistics semantics is the subfield that studies meaning. Semantics can address meanings at the levels of words, phrase, sentence, or large units of this sort. Semantics in the fields of linguistics, there are number one is situational semantics, number two, semantics in punch, number three, lexical semantics, and number four is semantics in everyday life. Also, in the presentations, there is theories in linguistic semantics. So in the theories, there are 9. Number one is formal semantics, number two, conceptual semantics, number three, cognitive semantics, number four, lexical semantics, number 5, cross-cultural semantics, number 6 is compositional semantics, number 7 is operational semantics, and number 8 is this denotational semantics, and the last one is axiomatic semantics. So this is the significant search that we put it in our presentation. So that's it for our presentations today. I'm sorry, and we are so sorry if there are any something wrong and mistakes that we made. And we close with Paramasanti. Santi, Santi, Santi.